It's a train wreck. It's a train wreck. But maybe they can turn it around.
Hello, welcome back to the recap. My name is Angie. This is my husband, Tim. Morty's here. And today we are recapping from the Sherwoods Saltwater Aquarium.
Bloop, bloop.
Look, there's the puffer fish that is jealous. I think Shane was referring to himself when he said that.
Oh, yeah?
I think he was explaining to Sara that the puffer fish tends to puff out his fins more, and that's a sign that he's jealous that he's not getting enough attention.
Fun fact.
Whenever they are filming a scene that doesn't have to do with the premise, I automatically relate it back to the theme of the show, which is polygamy.
Yeah.
So for announcements, you might have noticed I made a new opening for our recap. It's a little bit more generic. That way, if I recap other shows, I can just switch out certain clips and switch out the title.
Mm-hmm.
It's no Friends theme. This is what I got.
It's good.
Let's get into this week's episode. So, overall impression?
It's terrible. Did anything really happen?
The most that we learned from this episode was that Garrick and Dannielle don't use protection.
And they haven't for 14 years, and that means something.
We'll get to that segment. Nothing really stood out this episode. They went back to being mundane.
They just talked about stuff.
With their friends.
Yeah, I think besides the Merrifields, everybody just talked with a friend or a family member. It was nothing happening.
Let's talk about this. Seeking Sister Wife, Season 5, Episode 9. Seeking a Silver Lining. So the episode begins with the Merrifields. We see a landscape of the city of
Rio de Janeiro.
We learned that Dannielle eventually caved and has now flown to Brazil, even though she was telling Samantha and Garrick that that wasn't her intention. Unsurprisingly, we see Garrick acting like such an upstanding husband in that we don't see him being an upstanding husband because he doesn't even pick up Dannielle at the airport.
Nothing's like going to a foreign country, being there all by yourself.
He was too busy fixing his bed?
What, did he break it?
I don't know why he wasn't even at the taxi. The producer was there, obviously, but
Garrick's gross.
no Garrick in sight. As Dannielle is going to either a hotel or Natalia's house, the producer asks her what is the status on her communication with her husband. She basically tells them that they're not in a good place. She doesn't even know what he's completely feeling regarding her pregnancy, but she's hoping to make a good first impression or to screw over Natalia. Either way, she claims that she's excited to see him again after all this time. Dannielle then says something that is very reminiscent of what Mary Brown said in season 18 of Sister Wives, where she says, I feel like I'm the other woman in this relationship, which again is not an accurate statement because in order to be the other woman, you have to have the attention of the man.
Yes. Unless she's been demoted, like a marriage court-martial.
Cody Brown would like the idea of presiding over a trial. That thought would really excite him.
So much authority.
In her confessional, she does say that she is curious about Natalia's and Garrick's full thoughts on the situation, and I feel like she's almost saying that with a smile.
I do feel like she's trying to screw things up and that she's weaponizing this pregnancy.
She finally arrives to their condo. Natalia is the first person to greet her. And then she beckons Garrick to come over and greet his own spouse. I guess he was making the bed.
What, like from a kit? That's why it took so long? You just got it from Brazilian IKEA?
Upon Dannielle's arrival, Garrick does say that he loves Dannielle. After all, he's been with her for 16 years. And then in his confessional, he says the quiet part out loud where he goes, Dannielle's pregnant. I was fully expecting Natalia to be pregnant first. Because again, I wasn't expecting any more Caucasian babies. I was only expecting half Brazilian babies in the future.
Mm-hmm. Those are the only babies that are desirable at this time?
Gosh. Not in line with Garrick's vision from God.
Mm-hmm.
He does admit that Natalia knows of his and Dannielle's marital issues. Regarding the pregnancy, Garrick divulges that Natalia does get jealous, and she puts those insecurities back on Dannielle.
It's almost like this whole polygamy thing is a mistake.
But alas, he doesn't really want to fix anything because, quote, he can only do so much as a husband, which is nothing.
Yes, it's nothing at this point.
They do have a very nice condo/apartment.
With ocean view, balcony, it's really, really nice.
With an orchard of orchid trees.
This is way better than the setup that the Merrifields have.
In Colorado?
Yeah, no, this is nice.
I mean, Garrick did hint that Natalia doesn't come from a poor family, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's chipping in on this setup too.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. I remember when we were talking about the episode, you said maybe a reason Natalia doesn't ultimately stay with them at the end is because this is a very nice living arrangement.
And also, you can practice law here.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to start over.
And you can also speak the language.
They sit down in the living room for a conversation where Dannielle asks Garrick how his vacation is going.
Except for some bureaucratic things, very well, thank you. Mm-hmm. Much banging.
Dannielle does say that things are tense between her and Garrick, and there is barely a friendship with her and Natalia. She asks about the wedding. Garrick says that they've had a hiccup concerning trying to get married. There have been 4 failed attempts in what I'm guessing is them trying to obtain a marriage license. He says that a guy there searched him out and found out he was trying to build a polygamous family, to which I took to mean the government employee Googled Garrick and found out about the show.
I could just see this employee guy sitting at a desk, Googles Garrick Merrifield. I'm going to make a multi-wife family of all of this, and I have a TV show, and him just saying, hell no.
Denied!
Denied. Yes.
Because we'll get into it later where they do talk about the Brazilian laws, where they are apparently more similar to Utah than one is led to believe, in that they don't care if you're legally divorced in another country. If you're cohabitating with that same partner, they think of that as polygamy, which is illegal.
Which is illegal.
Garrick then complains about these new obstacles that are in his way because they now need permission from a judge that it's okay to do the marriage.
And he's upset that they can't get it skated by on a technicality.
I mean, they've been lucky on every obstacle that have come their way, whether that be paying some IT guy to push their number up so they can skate over some Mexican visa issue.
Yeah, I still don't know how that came about.
In order to get Natalia from Brazil to Mexico, I guess this is not turning out in their favor, and they can't pay off people this time.
No more bribes.
After explaining all of these issues, Garrick does tear up because he can't bring Natalia to America sooner. And he does that thing where his face doesn't move, but he does turn red. And his eyes start to well up.
They start leaking. I wouldn't call them crying or tears because they just look like there's a mechanical malfunction. Like he's overheating and it's coolant coming out because he's an android.
Horny android. I just found that off-putting because he is way more emotional in this moment than any other news that he's been presented with, such as the existence of your new child.
But, he can't bring this woman to bang in his bed at home.
This guy has got his priorities in check. They then divert the conversation to Dannielle's pregnancy. Garrick says, "You're still surprised that we're having a baby?" And Natalia says, "I wasn't surprised because you f***ed on a fertile day."
What did you expect was going to happen?
And you didn't use a condom.
I haven't used a condom in 14 years.
Natalia says that it's not normal to be surprised when you're taking that risk. And again, Dannielle does say that they've had no birth control for 14 years. And I was confused when she said that. Was she trying to say that that in itself was a miracle, that they didn't need birth control because everything was in God's control?
Or maybe she was trying to say that it was a miracle that she got pregnant in the first place. This whole interaction was so weird. It felt as though she were bragging and that she was likening herself to Sara from the Bible, saying that she was an old woman that was able to take seed and give birth or something.
Because Dannielle's not that old. She's only in her mid-30s.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because this segment seemed as if she was trying to gloat that, oh, it is a surprise because we haven't used condoms and now there's a baby, which does raise questions. Maybe she had issues like Mary about trying to conceive. The topic of infertility has never been a topic.
Yeah, they've never broached that topic. Another thing that's important to realize in this situation is that Natalia has been trying to speak English because God knows Garrick isn't going to try to speak any Portuguese. Mm-hmm. Natalia has taken it upon herself to speak only in English, and it's not great English, but she's trying.
As you said, Natalia is speaking English. She goes, in not perfect English, me not surprised or something like that. And then afterwards, it was weird. Dannielle is doing a Justin where she is paraphrasing them, but in their accent. She almost puts on a fake Brazilian accent in response to Natalia's question.
Yeah, she was saying things like, "Me no surprised, God love, me surprised no children," or something like that.
Like that.
Super unclear. We had to watch it 3 times to try to figure out whether or not that was what was happening, because this show is so bad at making the conversations make sense.
It does get weird. I don't know if Dannielle is trying to be passive-aggressive, but in her confessional, she does accuse Natalia of being angry at her for being pregnant. She thinks that Natalia believes that she got pregnant on purpose in order to save her marriage.
I mean, I believe that. I believe that she got pregnant on purpose to try to sabotage Natalia's marriage with Garrick. Yeah, I believe that, but I'm not convinced that Natalia is angry about it.
I don't know, because as Dannielle claims, Natalia and her haven't been communicating very well, or at least Natalia puts a kibosh at every opportunity to have good conversation.
Yes.
I do believe that Natalia isn't doing her best to build a relationship with Dannielle.
I mean, maybe she was earlier, but she obviously doesn't want to pursue that option now.
Either way, no one in this situation is putting in effort to building a harmonious family. The women continue to talk, and then Natalia does this thing, which I thought was funny, where she makes fun of Garrick's iconic stare. His glazed over eyes.
His all around white eyes.
In the next scene, Garrick and Dannielle decide to take a break from all this stress because Natalia receives a phone call from a government employee. I think it was the bailiff who was relaying a message from the judge saying that their request for a marriage license has been denied on the basis that Dannielle and Garrick are still living as a married couple.
And they want to build a polygamous freak show.
Again, when this segment came on, it confused me a little bit because that made me think Brazil, like Utah, cares way more about the technical nature of a divorce because Dannielle and Garrick are legally divorced.
But that they're still cohabitating? I think that one of the issues might be just an issue of citizenship and how you can bring people into a country without issue if you just marry them and then divorce and marry and divorce. And that shouldn't work. And so it would make sense that somebody has to research these people and decide whether or not it's an actual marriage.
I think that was a plot on this drama I watched 10 years ago. I think it was called Switched at Birth, where one of the moms and her ex were trying to look as if they were married. Very meticulous questions. I don't know if that's how it went in Brazil too. During the scene where they're talking about the call from the bailiff, Tim made a comment saying Garrick is definitely wearing makeup in this scene.
Oh, he certainly was.
Because his eyebrows were filled in and underneath his beard looked like it had concealer under it because there was like a perfect straight line.
Well, it was the line between his jowls and the rest of his neck. There was a straight line there. Also, it looked like he had just gotten a fresh shave and a haircut because he shaves part of his beard on the sides here. And he had thick, filled-in eyebrows, and I couldn't unsee it. At first, I thought it was somebody else. That's how big the difference it was for me.
I wouldn't go that far because I don't know if he had makeup on in his confessional where it would be more apparent. Garrick says that he knows absolutely nothing about Brazilian law, even though he's been dating Brazilian women for 5+ years in an effort to ultimately marry them. He didn't know he couldn't have a wife and a girlfriend.
Yes, he's upset that his incredibly poorly thought out scheme is not unfolding perfectly.
Either way, Natalia is frustrated. This is the perfect moment for Garrick and Dannielle to get some much needed alone time. They go outside, they sit at a table, and Dannielle says, "I can't imagine what your emotions are." Again, with the most joyous expression.
Yes, well, he's got his deer in the headlights look, where his eyes are darting back and forth like this. He's really freaking out, and she's got this big old smile on her face saying, "Man, this is terrible!
This really puts a wrench in the situation, huh?"
Oh my gosh, this sucks, right?
Dannielle asks what are the wedding plans now. Garrick says that he has no choice but to go the 90-day fiancé route, aka apply for a K-1 visa. The reason why they wanted to obtain a marriage license was because they talked to, I guess, a Brazilian lawyer who said it would be faster to just get a marriage license and bring her up to America, because then the other alternative would take maybe 1 to 8 years tops.
I kind of feel like her K-1 visa will be denied simply because of the fact that he is a public figure trying to build himself up a polygamous love nest. I think he's going to have a hard time.
I don't think this vision of yours is going to come true, Garrick.
Well, where there's a penis, there's a way. Semen acts in mysterious ways.
Stop! Oh my gosh, the Holy Ghost, stop! It goes without saying, Dannielle is very relieved that the wedding is called off due to her ongoing conflicts with Natalia and obviously her ongoing conflicts with her own husband. She tries to convince Garrick that all of these obstacles is God talking to them. And Garrick does seem to be agreeable to this outlook because it still maintains the idea that somehow all of this is still God's doing.
It reminded me of that stupid scene from Sister Wives where McKelty is upset that Cody is trying to make a TV show of their church service. Cody says, "Thank you for telling God's will to me."
But that's not what God told me.
But that's not what God told me.
And that's where the whole God argument breaks down. Instead of Cody Brown, we get to another polygamist who has her own prerogative of how this lifestyle should be lived.
Ashley.
Yes.
Okay. That's the
Sherwoods. Okay, so the Sherwoods want to have that serious conversation with Sara. Ashley is enthusiastic as she describes their potential sister wife, saying she's kind, she's intelligent, she has a great sense of humor, and they have the same values in raising children. They are awaiting Sara's arrival, and for some reason, she comes in through their back door. During Ashley and Shane's couch confessional, you mentioned that Shane likes a gold chain around his neck.
Yeah, the man likes himself a gold chain.
And Shane does say that he's going to ask the direct, hard questions.
He's gonna really just turn this into an interview.
Which is technically what happened on Sara and Ashley's first date at the park. Mm-hmm. That had job interview feels. They take a gander at their saltwater aquarium tank. And Shane does make the comment about their new pufferfish, where when he tries to size himself up, that means he's jealous.
Poor Shane.
Ashley does reiterate that this is not a polyamorous situation, because all of the lovers are hinging upon her.
Mm-hmm. She is the...
Cody Brown.
I was going to say, she is the hub, and all of the people are spokes around her.
Spokes in a wheel. The infamous metaphor of Dannielle, Cody's mom. They sit her down at their dining room table, and Sara explains that she tries to avoid dates that make her feel like she's in a job interview, which is unfortunately what Shane is going to impose on her.
Now.
Mm-hmm. Ashley starts off the conversation by enumerating all of Sara's positive qualities, but she ultimately ends the discussion by saying, "We like you. Do you have what it takes to be exclusive to just me? I mean, us."
Yeah, Ashley doesn't come off looking too great in this segment.
I brought this up while we were watching this segment where why does it feel weirder to me that Ashley wants to be the only one with multiple lovers, more so than with, say, Cody, who gets to have all these women? Because my outlook was, okay, Cody is trying to follow some sort of religious order that has rules, stupid rules, but Ashley, who doesn't seem to have that much difference with the women she's trying to marry and herself, yet she's the one that gets to be special. It makes me a little bit angry, and I couldn't figure out why that was the case.
I'm thinking Cody found a f***ed up ideology that worked for him, whereas Ashley has had to create it.
Yeah, she's going with her own prerogative again.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's weird.
I like to emphasize both reasons to practice polygamy.
Are both, yes.
Sara does respond to the question, saying she's never had anyone establish a boundary of basically monogamous polygamy before. This makes Shane relieved, now that Sara has given them her word of exclusivity. After the decision that Sara has come to, they introduce their, was it a 1-year-old or 2-year-old son?
Sigh.
To Sara. They kiss her goodbye. I think Sara just wanted to be kissed on the cheek because she was uncomfortable to kiss in front of their son.
It's one of those things where I have no idea what's going on. We had to watch it a couple times.
Because Shane says, "What just happened?" And Ashley says she was shocked. And I'm thinking, were you referring to the kiss or to the fact that she said yes to your request?
No idea.
The next scene is of them having dinner with a friend. Was that the same friend that met at their pool?
I think so. They didn't introduce her, so I assumed that she wasn't brand new.
Her name is Rachel. They go to the Painted Buddha. I can't roll my R's.
No matter how much I try to help her, she can't do it.
They talk with this mutual best friend in order to hash out their storyline. They start off the discussion with Ashley saying she kissed Sara at the end of their first date. Rachel gives a slow clap, and I'm thinking, why are you encouraging this? Rachel then asks Shane what are his emotions of seeing his wife kissing another woman.
Weird question.
Yeah, he says it's awkward because it's supposed to be a group date. And I thought, technically no, Shane, because you're not part of the group. You're just the chaperone. Your job is to make sure Ashley makes it home safe.
There is no relationship between Shane and Sara. It's not a group date.
They disclose that Sara has been non-committal to other couples she's dated before, but they were at least able to get her to be exclusive with them. I don't know how long that'll last.
I'm pretty sure they probably did some sort of Reddit thing we know at this point.
Then Shane relays to Rachel that they're trying to find a sister wife for Ashley because of his cancer diagnosis. Again, he is lying because this is not a sister wife for Ashley. This is a sister wife for you, Shane.
It's just a regular wife for Ashley. Also, he says that he got the cancer scan, but did they tell us what the results were?
Okay, so in the Ask Me Anything Reddit they did last week, someone asked about when is his next surgery, and he said it would be the week after. So I'm assuming this week. Hopefully that went over well.
Yeah, he's probably fine.
Cancer-free again. Then we get a confessional that kind of riled my blood a little bit, where Ashley says, Shane is the only man I've been with that completely fulfills me in what I need from a man.
Which is for that man to get me a woman.
Is that the only reason she likes Shane? Because he allows this?
He's not just allowing it, he's perpetuating it.
In that he's enabling it?
Yes.
In her last segment, Ashley says something I thought was super annoying, where she goes, I just like having that emotional bond with a woman more because our conversations are just so much more intense or meaningful than the ones I have with men. Right as Shane is just sitting there?
Yeah, we get a good sad boy Shane look right after that.
She says that she's able to have emotionally intelligent conversations with women. This annoyed me because, at least from my experience, the person that I have the most emotionally fulfilling conversations with is my own husband.
I mean, I might just be special. But I think this is humorous and kind of weird coming from Ashley because
she's a therapist or psychologist? I don't know.
But I don't feel as if she's being honest with herself.
Yeah, she can't have an emotionally deep conversation with herself, and by extension, she puts that on Shane because I guess she just doesn't like him in that way.
I mean, kind of. I just think it's really weird that Ashley believes or says these things because that's crazy.
It's clear that Ashley and Shane both don't really know what they want. Unlike the Sherwoods, who have been able to take on a sister girlfriend, we have the Salahuddins, who are batting 0 in terms of getting any woman to
be interested in them.
Yes.
Which doesn't make them that much better than the other family that they're talking to in this segment.
Mm-hmm. So their part begins with Nyla and Naeem cooking food in their kitchen in preparation for a picnic with a couple of friends. These friends are a married couple, Mike and Shamir. They greet them at their house. They, like the Salahuddins, are also Muslim polygamist, or at least trying to be, because they are seeking more wives to marry.
Mm-hmm. So yes, they are the competition.
They have decided to have them over for lunch as a sounding board.
Or more like an echo chamber.
Nyla explains how she met these two. She met Shamir through a social media app where they're trying to build camaraderie within this community.
That's the reason why Shamir said that they wanted a sister wife, was to build their community. Whatever that means.
Their community of whatever Mike and Shamir's last names are.
Yeah, I guess. These two are probably more crazy than even the Salahuddins.
Yes, and we'll get into it. So Shamir has been married to Mike for 5 years. They get to the park. The women start off the conversation by talking about the false impressions people get about polygamy, which is that it's all about sex.
It's about control and power.
That's true. But again, if Garrick was standing next to them, he would definitely agree that it's all about sex.
As God wills it.
Shamir divulges that she and Mike are seeing someone right now, which catches Nyla off guard. She gets excited and tries to relate, saying that they saw someone just last night. A 26-year-old, which they definitely are not going to
pursue.
And then Shamir goes,
Shut up! What could you possibly have in common with a 26-year-old?
The answer is nothing.
In her confessional, Nyla does try to speak on Naeem's behalf, saying that Naeem definitely regrets having agreed to go on a date with Alexis. To which the producer asked him if they ever followed up on a second date, to which Naeem admits they haven't had contact since. Then we focus on the men. The men are going over to the grill, cooking up some patties, and Naeem discloses their last serious courtship and how that failed, which was with Keisha. He just explains that she's wiffle-waffly, she
said that she had to sort things out, and they just were not very pleased with her.
We go back to the women. Nyla and Shamir lament about how small the polygamist dating pool is, which again is what the Ryans said in the last episode, where for every 100 polygamist families seeking a sister wife, there is only one woman wanting to become a sister wife.
Didn't Nyla and Shamir, they were saying that either they want to come in and take the husband away, or they're just trying to be taken care of?
Yeah, Nyla complains that they keep coming across these dead ends in terms of women. She accuses them of not wanting the lifestyle or just wanting to be a freeloader, I guess, which confused me because that was my impression of Keisha. Because I didn't think Keisha had a stable home environment. She had to move all of her stuff to a friend's garage. But Nyla and Naeem said that she was the perfect fit for them, so much to the point that they were looking at house listings with her.
If you got your shit together, why would you be interested in a polygamous relationship?
You wouldn't. This is a lifestyle that would attract the most desperate of women.
Speaking of which, what was the next line they said?
She says the women they date are very self-centered and only thinking of themselves. Then Shamir says finding someone of substance is difficult. Again, because someone of substance wouldn't degrade themselves to this situation.
What you're looking for is a woman with self-esteem issues and possibly other mental issues as well. If she had substance, then this would not be an appealing lifestyle.
Women of substance are repulsed by your entire deal. Then the men and women convene at the table. Naeem asks what Mike and Shamir's childhood upbringing was in regard to polygamy. I think both have said that they weren't raised in it, but they have family that is supportive, at least for Mike. Shamir says that that's not the case for her. Her mother is very vocal about this lifestyle.
Being terrible? Yes.
And of course, Naeem chimes in saying that he relates. His mom would frequently say how disgusting polygamy is.
And how pathetic her son is.
We go into a background of Shamir in general. She was the second/third wife. I'm just going to say she was the third.
Yeah. This part was kind of weird. We had to watch it a couple times to figure out the logistics.
Yes, and also because the captions were wrong.
Yes, the captions were wrong, and it was very irritating.
Mike says that he had 3 wives, or at least 3 women he was married to, not at the same time. His first wife didn't want to practice polygamy, and what I mean by captions is that the subtitles say, my first wife did want to practice polygamy, but if you listen to it, it clearly says she didn't.
So did not.
Uh-huh. So you had one job, subtitles. And that was a key word in understanding these people. He goes on to say that this didn't stop him from continuing to pursue this lifestyle. So he married a second woman. 2 months into this marriage, that's when the first wife divorced Mike.
I'm surprised it took that long.
Yeah, because that's awful. Your first wife clearly wasn't amenable to this arrangement. Why would you ignore her feelings?
Because she didn't matter.
It goes without saying this made Mike detestable to me.
Yes.
You completely ignored your wife to get another?
Yeah, just imagine that. You say, hey, honey, I'm going to marry another woman. Oh, hell no, you're not. Yes, I will. Hey, honey, guess what? I married another woman without your approval. It's going to take 2 months for the divorce to go through. And then he does surprised Pikachu face.
He does marry the second wife, and Shamir goes into detail saying that she did form a bond with the second wife. I guess after the first wife was out of the picture. She goes on to say that she was experiencing jealousy, despite the fact that she wasn't married to Mike yet. And as a result, she decided to not go to their wedding. She went to work instead.
And she broke down crying and had to go home anyway.
Which Mike didn't know.
Yeah, Mike doesn't care.
So clearly these two are very close.
Yes, they're very ride or die.
Nyla says in her interview that you see your spouse in a different light when they're dating someone else. I'm surprised she didn't call Mike out on his BS, considering she is a first wife.
It was just really disrespectful. I don't want to pull the Cody card, but disrespect?
Blatant disregard. It's detestable. We find out that eventually Mike's second wife left due to peer pressure from her family or other people.
Or what I call seeing reason.
AKA figuring out all of this is a dumb idea. And then we get some annoying spiel from Nyla saying she's never been jealous before in this whole process, and she doesn't anticipate that that will ever happen because she doesn't even give that emotion any thought, which I think she definitely does get jealous. That's why she has to have all these rules with Naeem saying, you can't French kiss her. She can't slob you over. Those rules are set in place because emotions arise where you are jealous, Nyla.
Yeah. And Shamir thinks that she's full of shit.
Yeah, where she says, you can't say you'll never be jealous just because it hasn't happened to you yet.
It's not like they've even gotten that far.
They try to get advice from these failed polygamists or polygynist. Oh, which, by the way, that's how Mike described polygamy as polygyny, which the difference is polygamy is kind of a more neutral term.
Gender neutral.
Where a person is married to more than one person, whereas polygyny is focused on the man being married to more than one woman, kind of a Sherwoods versus every other family on the show.
And Mike really wants to make that very clear there's a difference, because every time they say polygamy, he will correct them.
I think in season 3 there was a different family that tried to get that point across. I think they were the Clarks, where Gerard did have to differentiate the term polygyny from polygamy.
We practice polygamy, specifically polygyny. Polygamy is the umbrella term for a multi-person relationship. And then polygyny is geared more towards the male having separate wives. And that's what we're striving to do.
That was a while ago. Mike and Shamir's final advice to the Salahuddins is that the current wives' feelings are imperative. Because clearly if the wives are not on board, they're going to leave you. And he is looking for 50 to 60 years with all of these women at once.
To which Nyla applauds and says, "Oh, you're so perfect, so great." Echo chamber. These two groups are delusional together.
So that's where we end the Salahuddins portion of the show. The last segment belonged to the Davises, specifically April Davis. And
Billy.
Billy.
Billy. We like Billy. Billy tells it like it is.
Yeah, he's the Jadzilla of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, April and her younger brother Billy are dining at the Lowry Beer Gardens. He is moving to Florida, so April is using this limited time with him as some much-needed filler. I mean, quality bonding time.
That just so happened to be in front of a camera.
And only talking about her struggles.
Mm-hmm. We don't even know what he does.
She imparts the news that Dannielle is back with them again under their roof, and they are back to dating.
And he's like, why?
So Billy is visibly confused because he can't understand why his sister is a polygamist in the first place.
Confused and irritated.
He admits that he isn't the most supportive of her decisions, and he can't wrap his head behind the reason of why April wants to get more women for Nick.
I mean, same.
That was our final question of the last episode. I wish the Davises would better explain their collective.
I was thinking, while watching this episode, that polygamy is the answer that these people have come up with to their problems. What is the problem that they are each trying to solve?
What we postulated with the Ryans, or polygamist couples in general, is they pursue this lifestyle because we are living in an alienation epidemic. Mm-hmm. They want friends, they want a gym buddy, they want
sex.
Or maybe in the Davises' case, they just want another income.
Maybe. What is going on? I kind of feel like we should be told the motivation in the first episode, and everything will make way more sense.
Yeah, they like to do this surprise thing where we want a sister wife because Shane's possibly going to die in 50 years.
I know, we got to plan for that. We got to have another spouse in the wings for when you croak in 50 to 60 years.
I don't know how long or how short he has left to live, but they certainly believe he's going to pass in the next decade.
Why can't they just wait till he's gone to do all of this dating? That way, Ashley doesn't have to make all of those faces every time Shane says something that isn't supportive of her new gal pal.
It doesn't make sense. The producers pull Billy aside. They ask him what his opinion is of Nick. And Billy is not a fan, to say the least. He says that he is a stay-at-home do-nothing who's getting the best of both worlds. April tries to defend her husband, saying it's easy to say that Nick does nothing, but all the women agree that they wanted him to be a stay-at-home dad. And this is where Billy interjects, saying, I get being a stay-at-home dad. That's great. But what was Nick doing before Vera was born? Because William, April's son, his nephew, was already old enough to not need as much supervision. And that confused me because I thought when the Davises were first introduced, April said that Nick was in William's life when he was just 6 months old.
I don't know. If they can more clearly explain
the timeline of when people started to be in each other's lives.
I was going to say explain anything.
Oh.
If they could just please tell us what it is that Nick does that is appealing, please let us know, because right now it's just a big old mystery.
Nick probably is fulfilling them in some out-of-this-world way.
It must be. And if that's the case, then that's God's gift to him, and that he might be God's gift to the ladies, but just say it out loud.
Because we are trying to guess what is appealing, aside from the usual you're doing this because you haven't had a stable male figure in your life.
Yes, that's our leading theory, but still, it doesn't hold that much water.
Again, as Jedzilla would say, get therapy.
Also, fun note that I noticed today while we were looking at the screen, I said, Dannielle looks like what would happen if Jennifer and April had a baby. It would look like Dannielle.
Yeah, she does look like a cross between the two women. The producer then asked Billy more about his opinion of Nick, and he says he doesn't care about his character, and to some extent he believes Nick is exploiting these three women, which I don't disagree with.
Distinct possibility.
April continues talking about the prospects of dating, and Billy, in my mind, isn't too focused on the topic because his next point is to say, you know none of this is normal, right? And April just says, I just really want to start dating again because the last time I rushed things, we got Dannielle, and that was such a great outcome, and I want to do it again.
And then he has the perfect clap back to that, which is, she almost left because it was so fast.
It's just weird because during the scene when April and Dannielle were folding laundry, April made it very clear that Dannielle meant more to her than adding in another wife. And then she's willing to risk that all again to have that other wife. Her only reason as to why she is rushing this is because, aside from the fact that they want someone else like Dannielle, is she wants to grow their family so that there's more love to share.
What the hell that means?
And Billy says what we're all thinking is all you're doing is making a big mess. That's kind of where their segment ends.
Yeah, it just kind of peters off.
According to the preview, the next woman is introduced to what their dynamic is in that Nick stays home. All of them are working.
And she's really into alpha males that tell women what to do.
And that makes Dannielle apprehensive because she doesn't know if this potential sister wife is just saying that to get on their good side.
I mean,
say the right things.
If that's the right thing to say, then you got a problem anyway.
Yeah. The idea of an alpha male. Ugh.
But that's even if that's going to happen next episode, because you never know.
My impression of April Davis hasn't changed. She's kind of the bad guy for the last 3 episodes. In that they're rushing this too fast. They need to take their time with their family and enjoy the members that have agreed to be here. Again, they're probably just doing this because while they're on TV, this is free advertisement to get more women. That is the end of the episode. Give us a summary.
Dannielle chooses to weaponize her pregnancy, and we find out that the Brazilian government doesn't like polygamy and cohabitating, even if it's technically not. For the Sherwoods, a job interview is completed, and apparently Sara has been selected to go forward in the interview process. They're just exactly the same. The Salahuddins have had no success, and they met up with some friends whom they relate to because they too have had no success with polygamy. April's younger brother Billy says all the things she doesn't want to hear, then he's going to go off to Florida.
So thank you for making it to the end of the episode. Here's Morty, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Tired boy.
He is a tired boy.
I was talking about me.
Oh, you a tired boy.
I'm very tired.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay. I love you, Morty. You can go now. You can go now.
Okay.
All right. Everything go good?